Hey everybody, this is Eddy Dacius with another episode. We're excited to be with you today. We have a special guest. We're very excited to have this guest. His name is Torigian. We're gonna talk about himself, a journey, and definitely we're gonna have a great time. But before we start with this episode, we have our sponsor. Let's go with them now. Divine Purpose Podcast is happy to have you, and we have Tim Torigian, who's going to talk about his journey, his purpose, and we have a blast.
Do you want to maximize the value of your commercial property and achieve optimal productivity and efficiency in your day-to-day business operations? That's where Dacius Facilities Management can help. DFM offers Boston area businesses help in key areas like building and preventive maintenance, handyman services, project and vendor management, and even security consulting at competitive rates. Call Dacius Facilities Management now at 617-237-0106 or visit daciusfm.com today.
daciusfm.com. We call them now, 617-237-0106. If you have any issue with your properties, they are the one to call. And we also have another sponsor, This Day Design. If you need a website, you definitely need a website. You're going to have to call them. This Day Design will help you to build a great website. So let's go with This Day Design. Need a website? It's 2022, so you probably do. Check out our newest sponsor, This Day Design. They build websites for coaches and consultants using a straightforward client tracking system. They also work with all budget, so make sure to call 857-241-9955. Go with our guest. So, Tim, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited to have you today. And one thing we like to start with our podcast is the first question, the famous question. What can you tell us about you?
Oh man, I can tell you a lot. So I think to start, this is kind of my calling card. I have a twin brother and I have twin sisters, which I think is very rare, but it's kind of normal in my house. I grew up outside of Boston, in a really small town called Sherborne, Mass. For people who are from around here, it's near Natick and Framingham. That's what I always tell people because that's what they know. Went to college at UMass. The best years of my life there. UMass Amherst.
Oh wow.
Yeah, everyone always wants to know about the fun stories. It was a great place. I absolutely loved it. And I got into my career from there, and it's been smooth sailing ever since.
Nah, don't worry. We're gonna go deeper into UMass because I know there's a lot of parties going on there. But let's introduce the show. This is Divine Purpose Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
All right, like we said, we have Tim. He has over 8 years of experience in sponsorship, sales, and partnership activation. He works for a wide variety of leagues, including the New England Patriots, Major League Lacrosse, and the New England Free Jack. He has also worked with notable brands such as Delta, Body Hammer, State Farm, Master Energy, Mazda. So he's gonna tell us more about him. But like he said, he has a bachelor degree in sport management and a minor in psychology from University of Massachusetts. He graduated in 2014. So Tim, you say one thing that's kind of trigger, and everybody probably gonna know. Is it true that UMass Amherst has the best party?
I mean, I can only go over my experience there. I haven't had a chance to experience other schools, but
Yeah.
I mean, from my experience, it was a blast. I mean, I had a great time. I had amazing friends. It lived up to the name, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right. So let's go a little bit deeper in your background. You said you have siblings. So how was it growing up in your household?
It was awesome. I mean, I was really lucky. You know, my brother and I are incredibly close. He's actually getting married this weekend, so
Wow.
super excited for that. But yeah, no, it was wicked fun. I mean, no matter where we went, what we did, you know, we did it kind of always as a family. And him and I grew up playing the same sports, same friends. We actually ended up going to UMass together. We lived together afterwards for a little bit. So we've been best friends, you know, for 30 years since day one. And then, you know, my sisters have been great. They've been really great role models to kind of look up to. It's been fun seeing them. They both have kids now. So some nieces and nephews, which is always a blast to be able to spend time with them. But it was great. You know, my mom and dad, I think they had 4 kids under the age of 2, which I don't know how they did it. I think it's a lot of sleepless nights, maybe a lot of coffee. But yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, I was really blessed to have a really great upbringing, and you know, wouldn't change it for the world.
So let's go a little bit about your favorite childhood memory. Can you take on that? I know you mentioned your brother is your best friend. Can you share with us like a favorite childhood memory?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to choose from, but I think the best one was probably in 2nd grade. My parents and I, you know, we got home from school and they kind of sat us on the couch, and I mean, this is 2nd grade, so they're popping in the VHS, which you know, doesn't exist anymore. And they put on a video, and we didn't really know what was going on. I think my sisters were in 5th grade, and they put on like a Disney video, but it was kind of like about going to Disney. But
yeah,
I was too young; I didn't really put the pieces together. So it was kind of this mad dash, like, "Hey, you guys got to go pack. We're going to Disney." You know, The flight leaves in like 3 hours, and then before we left, I guess to get to the airport, we met up with my cousin and my aunt and uncle, and we eventually put the pieces together that we were all going together. So, you know, he was same age as my sisters, so someone else I grew up really close with. So it was a really big surprise, but you know, to be able to spend that much time with my family, it was. I think my birthday was over that trip too. So, I mean, Disney is just. I mean,
Disney is like
right. So you don't even have to describe it. Everyone's just like,
yeah,
okay,
you're right. You're right.
It was awesome. Amazing trip. Definitely something I've cherished for a long time.
No, thank you for sharing it. I appreciate that. So can you tell us more in terms of, so are you the oldest? So what was the age different? I know you kind of tap into it. Can you kind of break it down for our audience?
Yeah. So my sisters are 2 years older than I am. They were born in July of '89. My brother and I were born November of '91. I'm actually the youngest of my family, but I'm also the tallest. So, you know, so it's funny. And both sets of twins are fraternal. So if you look at myself and my brother, we don't look really anything alike, which is kind of funny. It was a really good icebreaker. You know, in college, you know, after college, growing up, people just didn't believe we were twins. And then you drop the second bomb that, oh, we've got twin sisters too, and you know, you watch people's heads explode. So yeah, it's
wow, man, that's amazing. Like I said, I'm glad you're sharing this, because I wouldn't think that, and you didn't even mention that. That's good to hear. So you play sports. Can you tell about sports? What sport did you get into, or competitive was it?
Yeah, I grew up playing 3 sports primarily. I played football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
I started playing soccer when I was a kid. Begged my mom to let me play football. Growing up, she never let me. And then I think in 7th grade, I broke my hip, and that was the last soccer game I ever played in. So after that, I got to go play football, which makes no sense. But yeah, football, basketball, baseball. Loved all those sports, and then eventually got into rugby. You know, way down the line.
Yeah.
But growing up it wasn't even an option. So I'm just pretty much like every other American kid, just, want to play football and, go around and hit people and see what happens.
So which one was your favorite?
Definitely football. I didn't start playing until 8th grade. Was lucky enough just to, I always played kind of in the backyard. Growing up, we had a really big yard. My dad built kind of like a mini football field. He put together, gutters, I think, as goalposts. So we used to practice kick. My brother actually ended up being the kicker on the team, and it started in our backyard with just having him kick through makeshift goalposts. But fast forward to high school, and he's hitting like 50 yarders in games, and it's funny to trace that back to just messing around in the backyard, and all of a sudden you're on the prime time Friday Night Lights making it happen.
So how important are those memories for you? Like looking back, like reflecting on your past, how important are those memories?
I mean, to me, they mean everything. I've been so lucky to look back, and whether I'm with my brother, my dad, my sisters, my mom, we had so much fun growing up that I've now been married for 3 years, and hopefully have a family of my own someday. And I think looking back at how much fun we had and how well we were raised, I think I just learned so much from my siblings, from my parents, of how to be a good person, how to work hard and earn things in life. And I think it just, all those things kind of are still with me and carry with me. And I think going forward the next couple of years, hopefully being able to give my future family that opportunity as well. So it's everything.
No, that's good to hear. So let's go to your professional side. I like to kind of this way. So when you were in high school, what was your dream job? So let's say later in high school and in college, if it's changed, that's great, but if it's the same, it's okay. But I want to kind of see if it's ever like people think it's like a problem where different things might interest you, so but now you being a sport, you have a sport management degree, but I don't know if that was your dream job. So can we talk about it a little bit in terms of what exactly was your dream job when you were in high school and in college and now?
In high school, when I was just getting started, I was pretty much like every other kid. I wanted to go to the NFL. I wanted to live the dream. I wanted to, play in the Super Bowl, do all those things. I think my freshman year, I got a reality check real quick. There's really a lot of good football players, not just, you talk about the state of Massachusetts, you talk about, Florida, Texas, California, those are the real, real players. So originally I wanted to play football, in college and then go to the NFL. I knew that wasn't going to happen pretty quickly. So, kind of going into college, and once I got to college, I knew I wanted to do sport. And I think, I watched Jerry Maguire, and I was like, I'm going to be a sports agent. Like, if I can't be an athlete, I'll represent the athlete. And I still get that fix and, can, go down that road. But after being in college for, I think it might've been my first or second sport class, they were talking about all this extra schooling and law school and all these different things. And I took a sport law class, and that dream kind of quickly went away. I knew I wasn't cut out for law, but I think it kind of shifted, and it's kind of what I do now, where I was always drawn to sport, and I've always been enthralled by the environment that fosters for fans, and the camaraderie and just everything it does for people. It can, some people, it'll make or break your week, depending on if your team wins or loses. And I was trying to figure out a way that I could do that. And originally I wanted to do kind of like operations and kind of be the team behind the team, where there was, getting involved with like equipment or doing, the logistics of, the game day stuff, making sure that the experiences for fans were really fun. But when I was a junior in college, one of my professors, Professor McDonald, he actually kind of challenged me because I was doing operations, and he's like, what do you think about sales? I was like, I'm not, that's not me. Like, I don't do sales, man. Like, nah. And I will. This is something I hang my hat on, but not in a good way. And I'm pretty sure this record still stands. I think I set the record for the least amount of sales in that class in history.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So it was one of those, but I also learned a really good lesson in that class, because I was like, oh my God, like, I'm going to get an F, whatever. One of my last days in that class, I made a sale, and it was I think it was the only one I made.
Wow.
And that little spark of wow, this is how it feels. Cause all my friends were left and right. It's so easy. And I'm just what am I doing wrong? I'm listening on their calls. I'm going to meetings with them, and I'm trying to do the same things, but I was I'm just not hitting. Yeah. But that little bit, that kind of catapulted it. I think, now, dream job, I'm really fortunate. I love what I do. I think this is the world I want to be in. I love being in sponsorship. I love meeting new people. I love bringing ideas to life. The whole thought of it is just something that I can't turn off from my brain now. It's just completely in my head when I go to sleep at night. So I think about it. So when I would think about when I wake up in the morning, I'm just so happy I get to do it every day. It's been fun. It's definitely, I think we've got a long way to go, but I think we're just getting started.
I can see the joy and the expression, the passion listening to you talking. So, but you said something that's great. You say reality check. And the reality check, so you couldn't be like a football player. I had that too, because I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I love soccer. Yeah. I love soccer that much. But I had that reality check too. So can you tell us more about what happened in terms of making sure, you're not cut off to be a professional football player?
Yeah, I think it was in high school, and I was really fortunate enough to play with really good players, and one of my friends, Tadula, actually went on to play and start at Bowling Green, and he was the best athlete to this day I've ever played with. He was incredible. He's fast, strong, smart, everything you'd want in a football player. And I tried to replicate kind of what he was doing in terms of lifting and trying to do things before practice, after practice. And I don't know if it's genetics, I don't know if it's just that it factor or what, but I was doing as best I could between school, between football, relationship with friends, and trying to keep, everything afloat. And for me, it was, as hard as I was working at everything, I just was not up to the level where I kind of had to be. And I think when I became a junior, we had a coaching change, and my Coach Gerard, to this day, still probably the best coach I ever had. He was the one who kind of was listen, if you want to go down this road, I'm going to tell you what's realistic and what's not. And that for me was really reassuring, because it was you're going to have to put in work that you didn't think was possible just to even get a shot. But when you kind of look at it at the grand scale of, when you're playing high school football, you're one of, millions of kids doing that. But when you go to college and play football, everyone on that field was the best player on their team in high school. So it's you have to work to get to that. And then if you want to start in college, it's you have to beat those guys. And then if you want to, go to the NFL, then it's you have to be in the 0.001% to do that. So
wow,
it's not impossible. I mean, people do it. And I was really watching Ted play on ESPN was the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, it was just one of those, and it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't my dream is dead. What do I do now? It's okay, well, have another dream. If that one doesn't happen, there's a million other things that you can do. And I think, it kind of hurts and sucks to hear that, because you're this is all I've ever wanted. But when you kind of take a step back and you're well, what makes me happy? What do I get excited about? And knowing that sport was still there. And it wasn't even until later in college, when I figured out that what I actually wanted to do. But it was definitely something that, sometimes it's hard to get, hard to hear those things and, process it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it was necessary. And I think it helped move me to where I am today.
And so some people would call it reality check. Some people would call it hitting the wall or embracing your calling or purpose. at the end of the day, that wasn't who you are or who you were meant to be. So now I think who you are now, that's what you were meant to be. And I think you enjoy it and you have passion to do it. So let's talk about the best compliment you ever gotten.
Best compliment I've ever gotten, I think, was kind of having to do with my character, in that since kind of I probably, high school, college, professional, like I've never kind of changed who I am. Like I've always been the same person. Like I don't change depending on who I'm around. It's like kind of what you see is what you get. I like to think I'm pretty transparent. I'm pretty honest. I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve. But it's no matter what, good and bad. I think one of the things that actually came up in a conversation last week, my favorite beer is Busch Light, and people, will look at me and say, you're not in college anymore. You don't have to drink that. Like, why? Like, that makes no sense. But it's one of the millions of things that just kind of like make me who I am. Like the things that I do today and this week and, in my life are things that I've been doing for the past 10 plus years. So I just try to be as authentic as I can. So, whether I run into friends I haven't seen since high school or, college or whatever, it's, it's still the same kid that, we grew up with. He's still, works hard. He still, does all the things that he said he was going to do. So I think that's been the biggest compliment, is knowing that I've grown as a person. I'm definitely, not that same person, but at the end of the day, my values, like all the things that kind of have groomed me to grow up into the guy I am, those things are still there. I might, wear more rugby gear now, or, have a different haircut, but at the end of the day, like I'm still me. And I think, that's a really hard thing to do now because of social media, because of, outside distractions and the desire to always try to be like this image.
Wow.
I just want to be the person that, that I'm happy with, and I can, go to bed at night and, can be okay with that.
Wow. So how important is that for you to be transparent and to be like true to yourself? So like the reason I appreciate you tapping into it, because this is the topic now where people are like, they call it imposter syndrome, where they're not being true to themselves. They kind of lying to themselves technically. So how important is that for you to be transparent for you and then to keep your core values?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's paramount. I think, that's a great kind of thing to say, is like the imposter syndrome. I think people get so fixated on, I want to have, this amazing house, this amazing life, everything in life is picture perfect. I'm not drawn to, those things. I'm drawn to the things that like make me happy. And I think when you boil it down, like you really have to, look at yourself in the mirror and are you happy with the person that you are looking at? Like, are you real or are you fake? Do you want to be remembered as someone who, kind of, clawed their way to the top by stepping on others and, trying to do what was best for them? Or do you want to be kind of genuine and kind of get there based on your merit, your hard work and things like that? I think, a lot of people do get caught up in that of, I have to have, the perfect life. I have to drive the nicest car, or all these different things. And it's like, at the end of the day, like that stuff doesn't really matter. It's like, the thing that matters, like, your family, your friends, like the people you actually spend time with. Cause like, you might get to the top, but if you're the only one there, then I'll chill in the middle or at the bottom with everyone else.
And I think, and you're right, and I agree with you in terms of having, it's like having like a healthy circle of people to kind of help you. And we talk about it where with our previous guest talking about, okay, how can I build a perfect circle in terms of who gonna be my support? So in terms of that, who has been your most important mentor to this day?
I think professionally, it's probably two. and it probably comes down to the two bosses I've had so far in my career. I think one was at Rugged in Brad Scudder. He was the person who interviewed me and kind of gave me a shot to really just start my professional career. So I owe him a great debt. But he was one where I think it was my first or second trip, and this was when we were putting on this event with like a running of the bulls, and we can get in that later. But he was one that he was the boss, but we were I think it was like 100-degree heat. We were lifting all this heavy equipment and things to get in place, and he was kind of right there next to us, doing the hard work. He easily could have been standing on the sidelines, giving orders and making sure we got it done, but having him there physically,
Wow.
doing the stuff, like that's kind of what stuck with me. I was like, all right, well, like if he's going to be here doing this, then like I have to work, twice as hard. And that was, and I think I learned a lot from him in my first kind of early years of my career. And fast forwarding to now with my boss, my CEO, Alex Magleby, he's been someone that I've only known for 2 years, but I've learned an unbelievable amount from him, just being in the world of rugby, seeing what it's like to try to build something from scratch, making sure that people are happy, that we're providing great experiences. But one thing of him that I will always strive for is he's the most kind of calm, cool, collected man I've ever met in my life. There's days where I've been, things haven't gone great according to plan, maybe a little rattled. And he's just, no matter what, there is nothing I think that this world can throw at him that would throw him off his game.
Wow.
Like he's just always, we're going to find a way. Like, we're in this together. It's someone that, I've definitely been able to look up to and try to learn from, and I'm trying to get to that point of Zen someday. But those two have been, I think have been my best mentors so far. Just kind of, being in that leadership position and trying to figure out, what is the best way forward. But I think leading from the front has been something I've picked up from both of them.
Wow. Now that's good to hear. So we're getting close to our break, but before we go to break, let's talk about what was your confidence level looking for a first job out of college. And I don't know if it was your first job, but out of college, you graduate, and now you're a job seeker. Now you're looking for jobs to kind of get you to maybe validate your bachelor degree, or I don't know. So what was your confidence level looking for job and get that job?
So really enough, it wasn't even like a full-time position. It was an internship to a potential full-time position.
Oh, wow.
So, and to be perfectly honest, I kind of put all my eggs in that basket. I was like, it was an opportunity to travel the country, which I really wanted to do, to put on these kind of crazy events that, no one else would get an opportunity to. So, I mean, confidence level, I mean, I've always kind of tried to be confident, but not, arrogant. I think, there's a really fine line between that. So I, going into it, I'd researched the company, knew, I think, everything I could about Brad, just trying to do as best I could to, not, screw up too badly. Had been on a couple of interviews, so, you kind of get the nerves out of your system a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those, once you kind of get into the room and you start having that conversation, as long as you're prepared, there's really no reason to be nervous and to have confidence. And especially, if it's, you're talking about yourself and your ability and what you can do and what you plan on doing for a company, I don't want to say it's easy, but, you definitely, get a really good sense of, I can do this within the first couple minutes. So I think right before, just like everyone else, probably nervous, didn't want to screw it up. And then, after that was just kind of like, all right, like, if it doesn't work out with this one, then it'll be the next one. And, whatever's kind of meant to be will happen, and we'll go from there.
Wow. All right. So, what is, so looking at your 8 years, right? You've been working. So is there a piece of advice you can share with our audience? Like for somebody who's starting the career now, like one piece of advice you will tell them?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's just like you cannot replace work ethic. I think work as hard as you can, do things that other people won't be willing to do. When people are walking to do something, run. It's things that like do things that will separate yourself from others, but
Wow.
you have to do it in a way that's not, trying to like show off or, hey, like look at me. It's just people will notice effort, whether it's, hey, we need someone to show up early, volunteer, show up early. We need someone to stay late, and
Yeah.
and don't expect anything in return. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think when you're young, that is what people will remember. That they'll remember, this kid was always here. He was always, working super hard. Especially now, I think a lot of people, it's 9 to 5, and the minute 5 o'clock hits, they are gone. They're
Yeah.
counting down those minutes. Whereas,
Yeah.
if you can work hard, like that
You're right.
will put you ahead more than anything.
Wow, that was well said, Tim. Let's go to our break now. Divine Purpose Podcast with Tim. We're gonna have more. Let's go with break now.
What comes before making a smart decision? Choices. A smart choice is the best option, which is who we are. That's why our clients expect more from us and, in return, get more in everything we do. We understand the problem. That's why we thrive for excellence. We don't just create a winning culture. We aspire to be a smart choice, a voice for solutions. We believe in integrity, professionalism, and teamwork. Our passion is to bring results from our clients by working harder, smarter, and faster. As a team, we always deliver because we recognize your needs. Choosing smart influences us to be the best version of ourselves. That makes us different than other companies. It makes us confident in achieving our goals. It makes us who we are. And it makes us DFM, the smart choice.
Hey, we back with Divine Purpose Podcast. We have Tim Torigian with us today. We had a great conversation so far, and I think we kind of make the picture is it's like filling up now because we can see who you are, what you're passionate about, and your core values. That's one thing that's important because people, like you said, you like to be transparent, and one of advice you would give our audience or people who are watching or listening is to always put effort, always be flexible. That's the way I'm probably gonna summarize it. So, which of your accomplishment are you the proudest?
I think there's two that kind of come to mind. And the first one I think is probably more on a funny note. One of our sponsors now for our team is Dude Wipes.
Yeah.
And they're on the back of our shorts, and it's just a perfect place for a perfect partner. I've worked with those guys for a number of years, Ryan and Sean, and Ryan's been really open to kind of anything that we've ever talked about or doing, and it's something where we were kind of we're a new team. They're kind of have amazing marketing. Their products are kind of like replacement toilet paper pretty much, and they don't take themselves too seriously, and neither do we. So it was last year, just trying to figure out, hey, we're going to be, we have this new team, we have this idea, like, what do you guys think? And it's one of those, they kind of are really in line with our organization, and they kind of approach it as kind of like a why not, like what's the worst thing that could happen, So for them, it was something where we did it for the last couple of games of our season last year, and within I think like 10 minutes of our guys taking the field and having their logo on our shorts, my phone was blowing up, our CEO's phone was blowing up. So the amount of publicity we got from it was for both of our brands was just amazing. Like people ate it up, and they were a partner with us this past year. So it's been one of those things where people they laugh at it, they think it's funny, they go to if they go to a game of ours, they can use their products, it's kind of this, it's just a really fun partnership that kind of came to light. And I think the other one And this is kind of one of the, I guess, the cooler ones. Probably has to do with Stormlawn Cider. They're a hard cider company that is, I think less than 2 miles from the house I grew up in my hometown. So, being able to work with them it has been really cool. I mean, to be able to kind of put Sherborne on the map a little bit and talk about their hard cider, which, if anyone's a cider fan, which cider season now, definitely go out and grab some. But yeah, that has been a really cool one. Just to be able to support a local business from my hometown and kind of put them on the map of, this is kind of what we do within rugby, and this is why you should, if you're drinking a cider, this is why you should be drinking Stormalon. So that was a really cool one that, I going into this job, I didn't even know if it was going to be feasible to do, but Shannon and Ashley, who I've worked closely with, they're kind of have bought in on rugby. I think they're sponsors for our Jacks Rangers, our diehard fan, their podcast too. So it's been a really cool thing to see come to light, especially being able to promote my hometown, which most people don't even know where it is. So to know that there's a really cool drink that people can enjoy from there has been really fun just to see and promote.
Wow, no, that's good to hear. So what can you tell us about your current title? What exactly you do? And I don't know if we mentioned that, because I realize too, we talk about your past, but we don't really talk about now. Tim, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm involved in with. This is what my day look like. Can you tap on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my title is Director of Corporate Partnerships for the New England Free Jacks. So we're one of the 13 teams in Major League Rugby. So we have teams all over the country, from East Coast to Midwest, West Coast. But my day-to-day is really just trying to work with brands to promote them to our fans if it makes sense and if it lines up. We've got a really great group of fans where they have people who come out to every game, whether it's snow, whether it's sleet, whether it's a perfectly sunny day. So my job is really trying to figure out brands that are primarily in the New England area, and trying to find ways that we can kind of do some really fun and cool activations. So we do a lot of stuff with Delta in terms of promoting them and how well they take care of our players. We work with Arbella Insurance, Tufts Healthcare. The list just kind of goes on and on. Got our beer partner in Baxter, Free Jacks IPA. We've got so many great partners that we work with now. So they do a great job of kind of two things. One is, like, we want our fans to use their products, buy their products, and because it's things that we believe in at the team level. We're not really interested in working with people who just kind of want to write us a check and say, here, please promote us. It's we want people that are local. We work with a local hot sauce in Hillside Harvest. We've got a local law group in Ketch's Law Group. So it's really just trying to work with local brands and kind of think of really fun and unique ways to kind of get their name out there to a new audience, because rugby and their fans are so loyal. It's very similar to kind of what you see in European soccer in terms of the engagement and kind of the craziness. So I think companies and organizations are looking at it and they want to figure out how do we get in with these guys? How do we what are some ways that we can work with them? And I think on a day-to-day, probably the reason why I love my job is no 2 days are the same. I think when I'm in the office, it's you can be on meetings or phone calls trying to talk to different partners, but the next you're down at the field handing up signage, or you're talking to players trying to see if you can get them to do a quick bite for an ad or a sponsor read or something like that, or talking to our coaches and trying to figure out ways that we can make their lives easier. So it's a really, really cool environment to be able to have that connection to players, coaches, the rest of the front office, and knowing that we're all kind of going towards the same goal. But it's just how do we help each other to be the best team in the league in terms of record, to have the best marketing, the best tickets, best social media, sponsorship. Those are our goals. We want to make sure that we're hitting on all those. So no 2 days are the same. I don't think I've had the same day since I started here. But I love it. I mean, I love being able to, do different things, get my hands dirty with, marketing or content or whatever, kind of the day brings. So it's definitely a roller coaster. There's ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's definitely one hell of a ride.
All right, so let's kind of give a plug into Free Jack. So I know you wanted to talk about it more. That's your time now. Let's go with let's go. Yep, this is Free Jack, right?
Yep.
And what can you tell us? And I know you talk about tickets. That's your time. You can talk about more about what our audience should know and what exactly you want them to do in terms of this information we are showing now.
Yeah, definitely. So I think for us, the big thing for people to know is our season will kick off in February. Our first home match will be right around St. Patty's in March. We'll have our home games from March through June. And then if we're lucky enough to make the playoffs and host the playoffs, we'll be going into July. But, I think for anyone out there that either knows rugby or knows nothing about rugby, you can come out to a match and have an awesome time. I think that's, the things that we focus on are everything that's within our control. So the only two things we can't control are the outcome on the field and the weather. So everything beyond that, we want it to be a really, family friendly, fun environment where people can come out and, whether you want to, learn about the game or just come and hang out with friends, it is an absolute party. We always have things for all ages. And, at the end of the day, I think, our sport, what makes it unique is at the end of it, no matter if we win or we lose, our players, our coaches, they're going to go around to all the fans and say hi and thank them for coming out. And you have that accessibility with our players in our organization that you don't necessarily with the Red Sox or the Patriots or the Celtics or the Bruins. And don't get me wrong, I love all those teams. I'm a diehard Boston fan. But I think that's the cool thing about rugby is they're so involved within the community, whether it's at games or doing camps or clinics or different things like that. So, our players and our organization have done a phenomenal job of not only doing things on game day, but also giving back to the community in terms of, running, free camps, free clinics, learn to play experiences for people who don't know really much about rugby at all. So I think for us, I think the main thing is just, if you want to be a part of a community that's kind of all encompassing, all inclusive, and is really just a fun time. If you're on the fence, I would say come out to one game. And if you're not sold on one game, we haven't done our job, definitely give me a call so we can figure out why. But everyone I've talked to, everyone that's been to one, has kind of been like, all right, when's the next one? When can I come out? How do I support the team? So I think that's the biggest thing is really just coming out, enjoy the experience, enjoy rugby. I think anyone who comes out to it will understand, what about it that makes the sport so special.
Yeah, this is this link. I think you wanted us to show you our audience this link. That's where they can buy the tickets to.
Yep. Yeah. So season tickets are on sale now. So if anyone's interested, we've got two guys in our ticketing office right now, Josh and Griff. And if anyone's interested, you can feel free to go here, click on the buy tickets. If you have any questions, you can call our ticketing line. I think they're on pretty much 24/7, it seems like. So, yeah, feel free to, we'd love to have, anyone come out. We'll have our schedule coming out probably next month.
Okay.
So we'll be able to have more details probably next couple of weeks for people to come and take a look.
So I see the Veterans Memorial Stadium is in Quincy. So I'm in Holbrook. Yeah. So close to me. So I should definitely give it a try. I never been to rugby game before, and that's something I'm probably gonna see if I can enjoy. So let's talk about more in terms of hot topic. So we sent you the questions. Hot topic is a segment where we talk about topics that people don't have a chance to really talk about and related to your profession, and you can give us some insight on it. All right, so and one thing, like I said, we have Divine Purpose Podcast, and we have Tim with us today, doing a great job talking about himself, talking about his background and his title, what he's doing every day. And so, like, do you see what's the future for rugby?
I think the future for rugby is incredibly bright. I think you look at the Rugby World Cup coming in 2031, and that's the runway. I think a lot of people are really taking notice of Major League Rugby and the work that's being done, both, during matches, but really trying to grow the game. And when people hear 2031, they think, oh, wow, that's so far away. But the reality of it is it's kids now who are, 12, 13, 14, who will be playing in the Rugby World Cup in 2031 in this country. And when you look at soccer, when you look at all the biggest sports in the world, rugby is right up there. It is something that is all encompassing. And I think, a lot of people look at the US really as kind of the final frontier for rugby, where it's been commercialized. It's been, there's Super Rugby, there's the Premiership Rugby, like there's everything that's being done in all these different parts of the world, whether it's, Australia, whether it's South Africa, whether it's, Ireland, UK. Rugby is massive everywhere else. And everyone kind of looks at the US as to kind of, this is going to happen. And you look at the popularity that the league has experienced, the growth that the league has experienced. It's been incredible, even for us as an organization. Within 2 years, last year, even with dealing with COVID restrictions, we still had 1,200 people out to matches because that's the max that we could do with the stadium restrictions. But those people were there. They wanted to be a part of the team. So it's I think the sky's the limit. I think it has an unbelievable amount of potential. I think more and more people are going to be drawn to it, and I think by the time the World Cup comes around, Major League Rugby will not be an infant anymore. It'll be very mature. It'll probably have 16, maybe 20 teams, in some of the biggest markets in the country. And I think it'll start having kind of that huge, that footprint where you look at the big four, the big five of soccer. People are talking who's going to be number 6, and I think lacrosse is doing a phenomenal job in growing their sport with the PLL. So I think you look at that, you look at rugby as a potential suitor, and even pickleball, which I didn't know was a thing until I think like last year. So you don't really know what's going to happen, but I think rugby is right there. I think it's got everything that Americans want. It's got the hard hitting of football. It's got the fluidity of kind of soccer and basketball. I think people will really come to enjoy it. The more it grows, the more people see it, watch it on TV, understand the rules. So I think the future couldn't be brighter for the sport.
Let's go with this question. So, and I was kind of curious about it, thinking about what's the number one sport, scholarship sport for college. I would guess is either football or basketball.
I'd probably say football.
Football,
probably more guys.
Yeah. So where do rugby stand in that list?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So rugby is growing not only at the high school level, but at the collegiate level as well, where you're seeing a lot of these schools that had rugby as more a club sport are now becoming a varsity sport. And when you become a varsity sport, you typically have access to scholarships. So kids who are playing football or basketball, and like we talked about earlier in this interview, it's really hard to get those scholarships because they're so competitive. With rugby, it's kind of taking and learning from all the other sports. I think football, especially college football, will always remain king in this country. I think it's just the tradition, and it's incredible. Really, really fun to watch. And the same thing with basketball with March Madness. But I think rugby is very much on the rise. I think it's something that as people are getting more in tune with it, they see the potential. You have all these different schools knowing that not only does it make sense for them to to have a men and a women's program, but that they can attract, athletes and students from all over the world who, maybe they're playing at a university in England, but if they want an opportunity to come over here, they can do that as well. So I think, I don't know exactly where it lands on the list right now, because I don't know, off the top of my head, how many, programs are Division I out there, Division II and III. But I can tell you it's definitely growing, I'd probably say day by day, because people see it and they want to get involved with it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list now, and it says like it's football, but for men, soccer is at the bottom. And so this is like the reason I wanted to show you this, because now this is like give you a perspective. Now, how can you recruit because if we have in the World Cup in 2031, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there should be a process for recruitment, so we get more players, more teams. So what's the process look like for you now?
Yeah, I think it starts even younger than that. I think, really getting kids involved kind of at a young age, with touch rugby or flag rugby, and just kind of understanding, what it is that the sport, kind of encompasses. And I think when you look at it, it's got catching, it's got throwing, it's got kicking, it's kind of got a little bit of everything, but it's so fluid. Whereas, you look at soccer is primarily obviously with your feet, football with your hands primarily. So it kind of does a bit of both. But I think growing at the youth level, I think is the start, kind of that, learn to play in middle school. But I think for high school, having varsity teams, having people the opportunity to play, and then have that transition to college. I think there's a number of really, really good rugby schools out there right now that do a phenomenal job with their programs. And I think, in order to grow it, you kind of need, those people to start and to be the kind of the pioneers. But also, I think you have to look at universities and figure out, how do you get rugby involved? Does it make sense? And I think if you look, there's a ton of rugby, colleges and, teams, especially in the New England area. It seems like almost everyone has one. But I think other parts of the country either haven't been, privy to having that rugby connection quite yet. I think we're quite fortunate in New England to have that background and that history. But I think, making sure people understand it. I think that just the education in general is so important, because a lot of people will say, I don't understand the rules. I don't know what's going on. If you know, the basic rules and understandings of the game, it makes all the difference. And I think starting now, because, people didn't have, they couldn't watch, American rugby in this country, a couple of years ago, it just didn't exist. So every year it'll get a little bit easier. But I think just educating and starting as young as we can to kind of plant the seed of, there is more to than just football or basketball or baseball or soccer or, lacrosse. There's another option that, will teach you great values, not just, on the field, but off of it. That will, make people, better individuals overall.
Wow. And that was well said. Well said. We appreciate you taking the time today. We get into the end of this episode. I had great fun hearing you and learning more about you. So let's go with a fun side, like we call it closing questions. What are the 3 books you would recommend our audience?
I think one I haven't finished yet, but it's one I'm reading right now. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. His mindset has been incredible to read and try to just tap into, how much potential everyone has, but doesn't realize it. So that's been, I'm excited to finish that. I'm probably about like 100 pages left. Another one that I really like, I think is Find Your Yellow Tux by Jesse Cole. And that's something where it's all about kind of like standing out and kind of like challenging the status quo, which, and really honestly just having fun. Like even, I read that book and, my out of office emails changed after reading that book, because it was like, take something that's boring and have fun with it. And, you do something like that and, it's really just kind of looking at the important details and, how do you figure out ways to stand out in a good way?
Wow.
And I think the last one that I loved was Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and he's rumored to be maybe buying the Suns. That's a really cool story about talking about how he went from an intern to being, arguably one of the most, influential and powerful people on the planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, those three, I've absolutely loved. I would 100% recommend those. It's just different kind of hits on different points depending on what you're looking for. But those have been three of the top that I've read recently.
Wow, thank you, Tim. Really appreciate that. Anything? Are you a movie fan? Are you music, concerts? I know you down for sports, but anything else?
Yeah, no, I love concerts. I've been going to see Kenny Chesney the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years at Gillette every year with my friends. Little tradition we have. So that's one. I love concerts. I'll go to as many concerts as I can. Love movies as well, but yeah, concerts are fun. I think the experience you have at concerts, those memories, they stick with you forever.
Favorite movies of all time?
Oh man,
sorry to put you on the spot.
I really like Wolf of Wall Street. I think that was
man, that's a good movie.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely a little toes the line for sure about a lot of different things, but
yeah,
I think that the messaging behind it, is really unique. I think that's what I liked about it. It was just so different. That and probably The Departed. And I don't know if that's just because it's Boston and talk about the corruption or all these different things, but that's another one. A lot of twists and turns you don't really see coming. That was one I think I really enjoyed. But yeah, those two. And you can go The Godfather, Scarface, Goodfellas. You can go all day.
All day. No, definitely
classics. So yeah, no, I love them all.
What is one question you wish I asked you today?
I think one question that would be, I think, beneficial, I think everyone struggles with is how do you balance, work and life? I think with COVID, it was like, everyone can kind of, work from home, which is great, but now everyone's working 24/7, so you can't turn it off. So how to balance that, I think is something that people probably struggle with a lot. But I'd be curious to see what other people think about that and how they find ways to either unplug, turn off their phone, if they got set hours, or how they deal with it, because it's a weird world we live in now.
Oh, Tim, this is very, very interesting because I have a neighbor and he told me he work 80 hours a week.
That's a lot of hours.
For a year, because he was working home from like 8 to 11.
Man, that guy needs a vacation or something. That's not healthy.
Yeah, I know, man. And thinking about it, I said, wow. And that's a perfect question. So how do you balance it? Because now everything is looked to be so time pass like flies, like and especially if you're in front of a computer the whole day and you're not driving, because before the pre-pandemic, people drive, go to work, and then now you meeting after meeting,
Yeah.
And so how do you balance it? Do you find a balance, or are you still looking for a perfect balance?
I try to find time where I can either go for a walk every day, or I'm working from home today, but I usually commute in the office every day. But trying to have almost parameters where you unplug at night, and you might have to do some things here and there, but I think making sure you spend time with family and friends, and I try to when I come home from work, I'll try to work out or do whatever, but I think trying to do stuff with my wife, whether it's cooking dinner or watching a show or just talking about our days, but trying to kind of leave work at work as much as we can. But yeah, I think just trying to figure out ways where go for a walk outside, even if it's for 5 minutes, or do something that gets you away from a screen, because we're surrounded by them now, where I think people just need to just take a break, and just go outside, spend some time with the sun. It'll do wonders.
No, definitely. So we appreciate you coming into Divine Purpose Podcast and have a great time with us today. Last word for you, Tim.
I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been an absolute blast. appreciate you reaching out, and if there's anything I can do for you in the future, let me know. And I'm very much looking forward to getting you at a rugby game. So once the schedule comes out, you and I will talk. We'll get you out there, and we'll have some fun.
Definitely. So we had a great time with Tim. So this is Divine Purpose Podcast with a new episode. Stay tuned. See you guys soon.